Well, welcome to A Slice of New Paltz. Sometimes out of darkness comes light, and I'm here to discuss the Maya Gold Foundation with Elise Gold and Mathew Swerdloff. So, even though I just did so, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Don. Thanks for having us. My name is Mathew Swerdloff, as you said. I've been a New Paltz resident for over 25 years. Like many people, came here for the school and never left.
Yes,
Met Elise here, and we raised our family here. And I'm the president and co-founder of the Maya Gold Foundation.
Well, wonderful. Thanks for being here. Elise?
Hi there. It's an honor to be here. I have been living in New Paltz since the mid-'70s, and I'm Maya's mom, co-founder with Mathew of the Maya Gold Foundation.
And the mission statement of the foundation is empowering youth to access their inner wisdom and realize their dreams. Reaching big and beautiful. That just moves my heart. So when tragedy strikes, people react in a multitude of ways. Can you discuss the path that led you to form the Maya Gold Foundation? I'm going to each address that.
Sure. Well, for us, it wasn't a question. Maya took her life in 2015, and practically immediately we knew that we had to do something. And what that something was and still continues to be an evolution. It was really something about what was missing in Maya's life. Like, we will never know what happened and why she made that fatal choice, but what could we do to help support teens today? Yeah.
So it's interesting the way you frame that question in terms of people choosing or having chosen for them a path in the face of loss. And for me, the path, I would say, was chosen for me. I don't even think it was, like Elise said, she knew right away that we had to do something. And for me, it was, I was out of town when I got the news that Maya died. And I remember very vividly getting back to New York, and in that process being really, really connected with suffering and loss, and feeling compassion, and feeling that obviously the path of my life had changed in many ways, but that there was something that was going to come out of it in unexpected ways.
Well, we've spoken about the mission of the organization, but are there specific goals that you've set?
Yes, so we work primarily in two kind of broad areas geographically. We have programming here in New Paltz, and then we have programming in Nepal. I'll touch a little bit on Nepal, and then maybe Elise, you can talk about New Paltz. So the Nepal piece came very much out of Maya's dream. Maya had planned to graduate high school early and go to Nepal and work in an orphanage to reduce trafficking. So what we do, when we started the foundation, we started basically just supporting NGOs in Nepal financially. And then we quickly realized that we could do more than that in terms of educating kids and adults here of what's going on in Nepal and other countries with human trafficking. And that evolved into an annual trip to Nepal that we do, where we take 15 to 16 teens to Nepal for 2 weeks for service learning and cross-cultural exchange. On that trip, our teens travel with Nepali teens. We partner with NGOs in Nepal that are working to reduce trafficking, and that's a very rich, immersive experience that addresses, one of the aspects of our mission and one of our goals, which is to create this learning experience for teens.
Speaking of immersive, Elise, can you touch upon the first time you found yourself in Nepal?
Well, sure. Actually, before we went on an official Maya Gold Foundation trip, we wanted to test the waters, and a few board members and family went scouting it out, and it felt, the first time I was there, everything, senses, eyes, mind, heart, open, and real deep sense of connectedness. We made wonderful bonds with people that we met, and we continue to carry those bonds. Nepal is a a very interesting country. It's tiny, between India and China. We learned from a professor that it's like the little mouse in between the elephant and the dragon. And there are so many different peoples there, and real sense of spirituality. That first exploratory visit, it became evident to us that it is possible. We don't only need to send funds for education and food and clothing and shelter to children of non-governmental organizations, but we could really deepen connections by bringing teens from the Hudson Valley. Yeah.
And what are some of your domestic or local goals?
So we do several different kinds of programming here in the Hudson Valley. We started primarily New Paltz, but we're sort of growing that focus. One big program is what we call a community series, and those are public events that we do twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. Those vary in venue and location and type of event, but they're always around the theme of empowering youth and providing resources for youth and families. So we've done film screenings, we've done a one-man show, a theatrical piece, we've had panel discussion, lectures, and really our youth action team, which is our youth advisory board, helps us determine what those events would be and what kind of theme they will take.
Ultimately, part of the goal of these community series events is to really open up dialogue. So each of them focuses generally on a different topic that might be tender or challenging to discuss. And the hope is, and actually the actualization is, that family, parents, professionals, teachers, and teens all come. And the wish is that they're given some tools, their eyes are open to some of these issues, and whether there's discussion there the evening of the community series, or perhaps on the ride home or the next day at breakfast, the conversation can continue to grow.
You know, if you're a home builder, if you build a deck, you can do your work and see exactly what success looks like. How do you know when you've had some progress or you've had some success, or the light goes on in some young person's heart or head?
There was one of our community series events that at the end of the show, was sitting or standing outside, and a teen was walking out, not speaking, I don't know who they were speaking with, but they said, "I never felt heard like that before. She really gets me," she being the presenter. So, just being a fly on the wall, feeling that a teen was heard means a lot. Another way, Don, is that the teens keep showing up. So, that is a challenge in of itself. Sometimes we refer to some of our organizational attempts as if we're trying to herd cats, because it's very hard for them to commit. But gee, last weekend, Mathew and I hosted an event that was not quite in the box, in the structure of a lot of other things that we do, but we put out an invitation to our youth action team, who's now about 16 strong, and about 12 of them on a Saturday afternoon showed up for like 7 hours to be with us. So just the fact that they talk among themselves, they show up, they spread the word to other teens, I measure that as being somewhat successful. What about you, Mathew?
So for me, similar to sort of eavesdropping on conversations and hearing what people are talking about, but one of the things that I've seen, particularly coming out of the Nepal experience, is kids whose view of the world have been really radically changed. Many of these kids, these teens, haven't left the country. or haven't been to a place quite like Nepal, a developing nation with so much poverty and so much spirituality. So I've heard from 3 or 4 of them that they sort of were a junior or senior and they had an idea of what they were going to do in their lives, and they came back from that trip and it was like, things are different now. I see things differently, and I want to change my track in terms of either career or college or travel or whatever moves them.
It's as if, you know, if you never leave the country, you spend your entire life in one room, and all of a sudden you go overseas, especially someplace so different, and it's a completely different room, and it may be facing this way instead of this way, and green instead of purple. It's just you can't look at, when you come back, you can't look at this place, your home, is the same.
You cannot really be unchanged by that experience. It's a pretty radical experience.
What we have learned, one might be concerned about going there and experiencing culture shock there. To that end, before the trips, we have 5 meetings in which we do a lot of team building, but also logistics and share about the culture. But really my point is, it's not so much going there that's the culture shock, but it's after that immersive experience, coming back is where our group experiences the most vivid culture shock. And because of that, we, within a week, hold a group meeting. It's not only a debriefing, but it's really a matter of landing and showing support to one another, like, how did you get through this week? And, you know, you got it.
Well, if you would take one of your local activities and just walk us through what happens over the course of it. You can pick which example you want to use, or maybe you could each use a different one.
Sure.
Just walk us through. How does this work?
I'll talk about one that's coming up, because I think that'd be of interest to people watching. So I'll take it back to the beginning, which is sort of the planning phase. We work with our youth action team. These are teenagers who are part of the organization to kind of brainstorm ideas of what these programs might be. And one idea that came up almost a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, was to doing some sort of poetry or spoken word or poetry slam event. At that point, there was someone on our youth action team that was quite a poet, and it meant a lot to her, and the other kids were interested in it, and I was interested in it. And it also fits in with our mission of empowering youth and giving them a voice. So we've been working on that for 6, 8, 10 months and researching different people to come, and finally in the last few months we put it all together. We have a woman coming. Her name is Poet Gold. She's a poet laureate from Dutchess County, across the river twice, and she's going to be doing a workshop with teens. So it'll be a 7-week workshop, once a week after school, talking about spoken word. It's not only poetry, so it's a little bit of a looser definition. She'll be doing that in the village. It's free. It's open to teens in the community. They'll be doing the workshop for 7 weeks, and then it'll culminate in a public performance in December, right at the Denizen Theater right here in New Paltz.
So this is not the poet laureate coming and talking at the kids.
No.
It's the poet laureate working with, empowering, and teaching. And
exactly.
Oh, that's
exactly.
Good.
And the topics will come from them. So there's not necessarily, we're not saying here's the theme. You're all talking about suicide or social media. It's really going to come from what's important to them.
I want to give you a little bit of context, and that is that we are a 100% volunteer organization, and we have a wonderful, skilled, compassionate board of directors. We do not meet regularly. We meet about 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. The real heart and juice of our work happens at committee meetings. And I'm sure, Don, that you and so many of your adults have amazing ideas about, okay, empowering youth. How can we empower youth? But you're not going to do it unless we really hear their voice. And in fact, that is the statement of purpose for the Youth Action Team, give youth a voice. We realized right away that we adults, as smart or creative and resourceful as we are, we really need the youth at the table. especially considering our mission is to empower youth to access their
Yeah.
inner wisdom. How else to build leadership skills? So not only are they invited to every board meeting, but they all sit on every committee of ours. Not all, they each sit on a couple of committees of ours. So when we're exploring the community series, or maybe we'll talk about some other things that we have going on, our Thrive grants or scholarship program and all that, we always turn to the youth. What do you think? Is this something that you would go to? Or let's hear from you. What do you want? And it's really, they're the ones that are guiding us. As a little footnote here, I'm sorry they're not here today, but they showed up last week big time. I guess there were other priorities today. Sorry about that.
Hey, we're enjoying speaking with you.
You'll hear from them another time.
So if someone out there wants to be a member of a youth action team, what are the ages and
Great question.
how do they do so?
It's pretty much open enrollment. However, we review applications once a year, and that's in May. All applications for all of our programs are online, mayagoldfoundation.org. The reason why May is the cutoff where we review applications is because there's a natural cycle in which some of, like our seniors, are going to be graduating, so there's some open spots to come in. After the application is done online, everybody gets an interview, and we take it from there.
Okay.
Yep.
And continuing the same theme, what if some of the current or past members of the youth action teams, what do they say they've gotten from the program?
So one of the things I've heard is, about learning how a nonprofit works and how a community organization works. For many adults don't know what that is, and certainly for many teens they're not exposed to that. So that's been one thing that I've heard. It's like, wow, I never knew this is how things happen. I knew Paltz is a very active community, so there's a lot of organizations that people sort of just take for granted. So that's one thing that I've heard. Another thing is the opportunity for leadership. The youth action team has officers, just like a board. The adult board has officers. So they have their own pipeline of people as they're moving in, and as they have become veterans in their group, that become officers, and they take on more responsibility.
That sounds wonderful. How in keeping with your mission.
Yes.
Does the Maya Gold Foundation offer grants or scholarships?
Yep. So both. There is a grant program that we have called a Thrive grant. Thrive comes from our statement of purpose, help youth thrive. And because, as I mentioned, we're volunteers and we can't do as much as we'd like to do in order to have our mission come alive. We know that there are many other groups and individuals, other nonprofits out there that are aligned with what we do. And if some of their programs match our mission, we do offer grants. They're small. They're from $200 to $2,000. And that application is also open year-round, online. However, we review the grants 4 times a year, and it's seasonally. Each fall, spring, winter, summer, we sit down and have a Thrive committee review with adults from the board and community members and some members from the youth action team. So many of your listeners will know a few of the grant recipients, including Elting Library. We, on a few occasions, supported their Battle of the Books, which is a middle school and high school reading summer program. Wild Earth, we offer for them to help with their scholarships of their ropes. That's a teen wilderness program. Denison, we helped with Denison Theater. They have a special discount for students. And well, those are some of the bigger, but you don't have to be an established nonprofit in the community to be a Thrive recipient. There are other people who want to try something, and if they could really show that it's going to have an impact and put it into action, they'll do it. we do not, while we will publicize the grants and the programs, we can't do recruitment of participants. So
They come to you.
well, not only the the programs that are applying come to us, but for instance, for Elting Memorial Library, I'll just give you that example. We don't recruit the kids who are part of the Battle of the Books.
I see, I understand.
That we just don't have a marketing and outreach department. We're it, or we and our committee board volunteers are it. So if somebody or a group applies to us, they really need to be able to do that recruitment and outreach and, show that they can have an impact on their own. And scholarships. We offer something called a community service scholarship. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So this is something that we are awarding now twice a year. And it's to Hudson Valley high school students that are doing community service work in the community that's aligned with our mission. So it's a pretty broad, and basically it's a way to recognize kids that are doing selfless acts of service in the community. It's a $500 award. We've given out 6 so far to students from New Paltz, Onteora, a few other districts I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but from around the Hudson Valley. And they varied. Two young ladies were doing. They were using the money to purchase books to go to the hospital and read to children with life terminal illnesses. We've had people do relief work. People do teach music classes in a Sunday school in Clintondale. So they vary widely. Really, if they support our mission and if they're teen-led and teen-driven, we want to recognize that.
I will chime in that we offer these scholarships to freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. We made a decision that often there's so many scholarships available to seniors at high school, and they generally will, of course, take the money and run. We want our scholarship recipients to take the money and
stay.
And well, not only stay, but also let others know we received this award because, and then to promote the good work that they do. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at part of the leadership, but would you speak to me about the leadership of the organization, your board of directors?
Sure. Love them all. Beautiful adult board. They're all have their own different skills, and they all bring something different to the board. We really, when we founded the organization, we recruited people very mindfully and very carefully of who we want to be on the board. And there's been quite a bit of turnover so far in the 4 years.
Natural turnover.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
there's a 2 and 3 year term. We have educators, social workers, lawyers, psychiatrists.
Very diverse board with diverse professional backgrounds, but all have a passion for giving back and supporting the mission, really.
And have you received any sort of financial support?
So we're a donor and grant-based organization. We don't receive any government funds, so we do have an annual appeal that we do. We do some fundraising events. We've had 2 concerts in the past where we've done fundraising, and we do some grant writing. But basically, we're a nonprofit, so the funds that come in we use for programming.
Well, there's a section on your website where you crow a little bit. So tell me, has the Maya Gold Foundation been recognized at all?
Go ahead.
Sure. A couple of things come to mind. One is we recently received the Beacon Peace Award from Beacon, New York. There's an organization down there that wants to recognize community groups that are working to make the world a better place. And they were kind enough to honor us this spring, and that was a nice recognition that we received. And then 2 years ago, Elise was recognized by TMI, their Voices in Action award, their annual award ceremony for her work with the Maya Gold Foundation.
You might be thinking of the Greater Nonprofits. That is based on award. That's based on our constituents. If they type in online praise, we can get some points, and I think we've gotten some beautiful praise. So
Yeah.
it feels good to receive that?
Well, I don't know if this is as much of a question as an observation. From what I didn't know Maya well, I knew her a little bit, but from what I do know of her, this would have been exactly the kind of remembrance and dedication and tribute that she would have embraced.
Thank you. That's beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, she was definitely had a lot of compassion and sensitivity beyond anybody that I know, and was a social activist from an early age, and I imagine she would love this organization. Yeah.
So many parents would be moved if their children followed in their footsteps. This is kind of the parents following the footsteps of the child. It's just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
So, how do people find out more about the Maya Gold Foundation?
Great. So everything's on our website, mayagoldfoundation.org.
And that's MAYA.
One word, mayagoldfoundation.org. It's not a, I don't think it's too complicated. There's some tabs at the top. You can scroll through and see what's what. There's one that says Stay Connected, where you can sign up to be a volunteer. You can sign up to apply to get our newsletter. There's a link for applying for any of our grants or any of our programs. So we encourage people to check it out. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So whatever platform you prefer, you can follow or subscribe on those platforms. We also have a very robust YouTube channel with a lot of videos from Nepal trips and different programs. So if people want to check out that, they can get a good sense of what we do.
Well, on your website also, there's a list of supporters that is quite long and impressive. If someone wants to get on that list, how can people find a way to support you?
Sure. The website that Mathew is talking about, also we have a donate button. So we receive any amount of funds through online donations or by putting a check in the mail.
So what does the future hold? What's in the works for the rest of 2019 and 2020?
So we have a couple things coming up this fall. As I told you about the spoken word workshop for young people.
Called Teen Voices Rising.
Teen Voices Rising. The application for that is open right now for teens who want to apply on our website. That starts October 16th, and the performance is December 8th, I think. Then we also have an event, December 7th.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we also have a one-man show that we're doing at the Denizen Theater in November. That's a fundraiser, which we invite people to come to. It's a beautiful show. A man named Doug Motel, who lives in Rosendale, has performed this show across the country, and he's generously offered it to us as a fundraising event. Yeah. So it's an evening, a Saturday evening and a Sunday. And then all funds from that, raised from that, ticket prices will go towards the Maya Gold Foundation.
Looking forward to 2020, we have our dates booked and actually airline reservations for the Heart of Gold Adventures teen trip for April 2020. The application for that is open now and is closed September 30th. So that's a big process and a big commitment.
Big deal, yeah.
It is. We take it very seriously. We interview the teens just as they interview, and the parents or guardians interview us. Understandably so. Hey, as a parent, to send my teenage son or daughter around the world to Nepal with potentially a group of strangers, it is a big deal. So we have a lot of preparations in the works for that amazing adventure. And as far as the spring community series, there's talk about something in the world of mindfulness. So there's not a commitment yet, but it seems like that's the direction that we're going. And that is really based on the voice of the teens. They told us they are too stressed out. They need tools. Please, let's do something to help ground us. So we're looking, it's in the research mode right now, but at offering some kind of series, some workshops and a series for mindfulness practice.
Is there anything else important about the organization that the questions did not allow you to touch?
You asked so many good questions.
Yeah.
I want to mention the Nepal trip. When people sometimes see the poster around town or online, they see the sticker price and they might say, "Forget it, can't do it. It's $3,750, which is inclusive of everything for a 2-week trip." We do offer financial aid for people that need it. There's an application for that. So we want people to not be scared off by the sticker price. And I'm also really, really delighted to say that a really generous donor family has offered to underwrite 2 full scholarships.
Wow.
So
That's
there's
powerful.
2 seats open for that trip for somebody who really can't afford. And so I'm hoping that people will apply and not let the list price scare them away.
Well, it's I'm so much smarter than when I walked in the room. I appreciate learning about what your organization is doing. The society is in a place where we depend on the schools to do tasks that parents used to do, that churches used to do, that whole communities used to do, and it's more than we should expect from schools. And it's really beautiful to see an organization that fills some of that space and looks at where the empty places are and kind of rushes in to try to ask the kids, what do you need and what works for you, and actually listens and empowers them. So I really enjoyed shining a light on the Maya Gold Foundation. And again, it's Mathew Swerdloff and Elise Gold and all their youth action teams and all the boards of directors and all the supporters and all the volunteers that make this beautiful thing called the Maya Gold Foundation. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Don. Thank you.
Thank you all.